Welcome to another BeoTalk number 335. Oh yeah, we have to do shilling and stuff.
Do it.
But go buy something at Skinny Play. I'll pop the link in the chat. Use the promo code for 10% off. That sort of thing. It doesn't have to be an A9, but it works best on the A9 in my opinion.
I think so. A9 is a great canvas for artwork.
Yeah. Then make your BeoLab 8 prettier with the Greenhouse Studios. 10% off of each item. I'll also pop that discount code in the chat. Come join us on our Discord if you haven't yet already. That's also a good time.
You're missing out if you haven't.
Yeah, we seem to get news there more often than on like B&O's website, so that's a good thing.
Pretty much.
And what else? Yeah, that's about it. Oh yeah, leave a like and subscribe, I guess.
That would help. Do it, people.
Yeah. So your week was snowed in?
Oh fuck. Yeah, like I was telling you before we got on air, 75 centimeters fell down between the two storms within a week span. So the last time we chatted, that was the second storm, and shit was pretty serious then. Monday we stayed home because that was the smartest thing to do, and I think I had an appointment somewhere very close or downtown, which is or was impassable, and there's still snow heaps bigger than taller than my van. Never seen anything like, man. I've been here for more than 25 years in Canada. I've never seen shit like this in my life. 27 years that I've lived here. I've never seen shit like this.
Yeah, that's pretty
out
crazy.
Of this world, like, and once it stopped snowing, then the wind started blowing, and the heaps were insane, and it never fails. Like if we want a huge storm, all of us as installers need to be booked to at least be 2 hours away from the city, and I guarantee you that week or that day before we have to go, it will just dump a foot or two, and then it's usually you make it up, but if you get off the beaten path, off the highway to the places where we go, these secluded chalets and houses, right? Sometimes it's the last 500 meters. That's when you cry, because you either get your van stuck or you walk with all the shit. 77-inch TV to walk, half a kilometer
on snow and ice.
In a knee-deep snow definitely ruins the day.
God, and, I'm so glad I live here.
And I've never, knock on fucking wood, I've never had to do that. Few times it came down to it very closely. That was, I think, last year or 2 years ago. No, yeah, 2 years ago when the theater came out brand new. And we had, me and Max went, and we went with the most capable van we had. And yeah, we called the guy, I'm like, listen, man, we are more or less, we could see your house, right? But it was up the hill in the bend that you would never make. So he came down with a big Escalade. We loaded because it was I think it was an 83-inch that we had to do, right? Because it's never, you never do small shit when you go out somewhere. So theater, either 77 or 88 or 83, I don't know. I didn't know it was 77. It was a 77-inch TV because they barely fit in his Escalade with the theater and I think there was a Lab 19 with it. And yeah, lugging that would suck, man. Because we came in too early. Like they do plow the roads better than in Montreal, but it does happen around 10 o'clock. Well, not when we show up at 7 or 8. But yeah, other than that, it was uneventful. I guess the only thing that I came across recently is we have a client that came back after I think about 50 days of being away from his second home. And one of the Lab 28s just absolutely crapped the bucket, right? So I went there.
As in, like, it doesn't start, or it like starts but doesn't do?
Stereo pairs, fucking plays together, plays alone. They're hardwired not between one another, but they're individually hardwired into the switch, and they're wired PowerLink Cat7 cable directly into them. They worked no problem whatsoever. One of them dropped off the theater.
Huh.
I factory reset the theater. Well, that's when I got to that. I factory reset the theater 3 times in a row.
Yeah, as you should, for some
and it finally
crazy reason.
It came back. I plugged it in. No right speaker. What the fuck, man? And it opens. The PowerLink opens. No sound out of the speaker. Makes no sense, right? Put them to WISA. Same thing.
Huh? Okay.
Put them to DPL. They don't even show up in the menu. They're pair connected. They disappeared from the app. Doesn't show up when you go to the sweep. It just shows Beosound Theater. So now we know the problem is in the theater. There's no way, because the speakers, I pair them just for shits and giggles to see. I'm like, these are fucking playing, dude. So the cables are not wrong. Nothing's moved here. Nobody's been here for 50 days or at least, right?
Yeah.
2 hours later, I ran the room compensation. That was the last thing that I could try because I didn't know what to do anymore. I just left the speaker preset at 0.
And that did something?
And that completed the sweep. They started to work. They showed up. I don't understand.
Huh. That is really strange.
How do you explain that?
I don't.
And you go, no sound coming up, right? So you go and it says flip the switch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in there it says which one is left, which one is right. So I select the other way, right?
Yeah.
Still no sound out of the right speaker. The left one would work no problem, but the right one would never come up through PowerLink.
It's so weird that it does that on WISA and DPL.
And PowerLink.
Yeah.
On all 3. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, is it something to do? It can be the PowerLink output, because they changed it from PL1 to PL4. and did the same thing. So I'm like, it's got to be bugged in the theater somewhere. That's when I restarted the theater 3 times, killed the breaker, gave it 5 minutes, reset the speakers to factory as well, reset both speakers to factory, reset up the whole 9 yards, left that fucking thing at 0. Or no, I put it to 2 when I was doing the microphone sweep because it detected the speakers. It crashed on the right speaker again. I'm like, what the fuck? So I ran another sweep with the 0 preset to the speakers. And it completed it. Then I could go back. I made the cinema and music presets, right? And alternate change the speakers, blah, 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 did the TPs, all that nonsense shit. So Kareem, if you're listening, don't ask me tomorrow because I did that. And tuned everything, blah, blah, blah. Went back into the speaker preset for music, put them to narrow, went into the speaker for cinema, put them to number 2. Works without an issue. But there is a longer delay between switching speaker groups or speaker listening presets. Remember, like when it was back in the day, it was like 5 seconds. Yeah. It's about that long time that it takes. But you would never know that because if he turns on the AirPlay, he never, the panel shuts off anyways, right? So when you turn on the AirPlay, like the way they consume music is, what the fuck? I forgot the phone. Oh, there's Kareem calling. It doesn't know that it doesn't know that it's a podcast. It's fucking hilarious.
Surely he has a laptop and he can just come on and berate you online.
Because he shipped his wife out to Greece, so he's alone. But he doesn't know. He can join on Skype, man.
So anyways, really a work review online for everyone to see.
So yeah, I left them at 0 to finally tune them. They tuned. So I don't understand that bug at all. That 28s, if you have them if I have them in any speaker preset, I think it's almost the same. Not anomaly, but it's almost the same thing that happens when you leave the latency set to either low or high on the 50s or 90s. They never complete the tuning. They have to be set to auto because the latency is then set from the theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's something weird. To your argument, Sandeep, I also did put the PowerLink socket as BeoLab 18s or BeoLab 1s. I've done 2 of them. And I went into each individual 28, set the PL left and PL right on individual speakers. By then, I remembered the serial numbers of each, right? So left and right. Go back to the theater, select the PowerLink socket, 1 output detected, right? You go in there, you press plus, I put the BeoLab 1 on it, sound comes out. Press plus again, no sound. After you select the second BeoLab 1 from the same PowerLink socket. It is absolutely inexplicable what happened there. Like, I don't know if the building is prone to power outages and shit. I don't understand. Maybe through this, I don't know, brownouts, that probably would explain it. But he also had his son help, right, to try to figure it out.
Yeah, but sometimes you just can't, right?
No.
Like this new era of software has so many weird issues where they resolve themselves for no apparent reason.
I had to power cycle all of it, dude. Like I said, for a while, and factory reset 3 times. And I factory reset the speakers, and then finally, to me, logically, there is no fucking way for that not to work, right? Like, that's how I look at it when I'm looking at the problem like that if that worked before, why does it not right now? Nothing's changed. 0 variables. I even went up to the goddamn freaking almost snapped my fucking neck into the closet up on the ding dong because it's going off of one Cat 7 into the PL splitter.
Yeah.
So I figured maybe the wire's loose or something, right, on the second speaker. But maybe it's just loose enough not to connect to the fucking the sound pins, right? But it still gets enough from the trigger out pins. I don't understand. So I went in, pushed it all in, click, clack, make sure. Same result, man. But like I said, after I put those goddamn speakers into zero, that's when they...
I guess the only thing that changed is that nobody used them for like a month plus.
You know what the weird thing is? When I came back after 10 days of being gone from here, everything turned on in my house without an issue, except I had to factory reset the Avant. Figure that. It wouldn't connect to the network. I had to factory reset the goddamn Avant.
Yeah, that's odd. Then again, it's maybe stuck in like old ass software.
No, but for some reason, like what I noticed, okay, from living with this stuff and blah, blah, blah. If you reboot your Wi-Fi or the network altogether, right? Let's say, you've cut the power. The guy, when I was working on the Avant, I cut the power to the breaker, which subsequently powers the entire internet, gateway, and the Philips Hue shit. All that is in the box, right?
Like Steve asked, has there been an update in the meantime?
No,
that you know?
No, nothing, man. Same, he's up to date. He's got the same software as mine, bro. No, like nothing's changed. Nothing's changed other than the fact that he showed up in his unit 50 days after he turned it off. That's all.
Huh.
So, anyways, when I powered everything up and I, hung the Avant, blah, 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 I hear the Beosound 1 in the kitchen go boop, boop, right?
Yeah.
And that's the only one. And Halo came online. Mozart platform, nothing. They all were flashing orange. I had to unplug and plug back.
Speaking of the Halo, my Halo currently doesn't show up in the app, yet it's still on the network and can control everything. This is also a thing that's in the last month or so that keeps on happening.
Well, there was a software update. No, software. There was an app update, right?
Yeah.
Like 6.5. whatnot, which was like a week or 2 weeks ago. Because I noticed having serious problems adding products to the account when I'm under account control. Like 6-7 times to add, right? Close the app, or the app just closes for you mid fucking around. Yeah, I don't know. There's something off right now. There's something off. They fixed something, but screwed up something else. You know what I mean? I hate that ripple effect nonsense that keeps happening.
Yeah, it's
like if you're
it
in
makes
my
no
house,
sense.
I have no issues. I knock on wood, but I don't change anything. I just leave it. Right, it's done. I set it up. I left it.
But your only Mozart device is your theater.
No, I have an Emerge in the hallway, the black one, and then I have the level in the bathroom.
Oh yeah, I forget that.
So there's that, and then I have an Avant that's on Wi-Fi in the bedroom, and there is a Beosound 1 in the kitchen. So those, and a Moment, I keep the Moment alive because it's got an IR receiver. So the only function that it does is the light go and light stop from my keychain to turn the lights on as I walk in. It's sitting in the foyer. Not even, well, it's connected to power, and that's about it. But none of those have any issues. They stay on and no problems. It's just the Mozart stuff. Theater was online without an issue because it was hardwired. So the hardwire IP just grabs on its own, and I guess it forces it down its neck. But if you have it Wi-Fi and you have a power cyclage on your network, you may have to reboot your Mozart product.
So strange. I really don't understand.
Neither do I, man. It's frustrating.
But the problem is, I also don't think they understand.
No, and you know what? Now that I'm kind of going like full circle around this nonsense. That was it worth it for me to fuck off Tidal? I mean, Deezer, and go with the Tidal instead.
Because I have a Moment, that's why I stayed with Deezer. Because it works.
So it works, and it's a source on every button. I mean, on every remote. Like, it's just the Tidal just doesn't work out for me. Yes, understandably so. Like, I can still have it linked. Like my Avant, the audio system for it is the Beosound 1, right? So when I'm in the bedroom and I press radio as a Beo4 command, it goes into not the Spotify. Apologies. it goes into the B&O radio, and when I press CD, it goes to Tidal. But I will probably cancel my Tidal subscription and go back to Deezer.
I was seriously
Because
considering Tidal for but then again, like I don't listen to it properly often enough, and the headache of like you can't really store it under a My button yet or at the time. Because I pay for a year, right? Like I don't do the monthly thing. I pay the year in one go. So, and that chance was 6 weeks ago. so it was like, well, these are for
no,
another year.
I'm very much contemplating on moving off back to Deezer. The guy swapped in the showroom as well. We went back to Deezer. Tidal is not really like, yes, it works for the headphones, but at the end of the day, every demo I think with the H100s that is done, it's done through Bluetooth more or less, right? Because even when people want to pair their phone, they fucking pair it through Bluetooth. You don't walk around with the USB-C port, cable behind you or off your neck.
No,
And
at least I don't.
I don't either, and I don't like it because no matter how much noise canceling you have, there's still a physical transfer of noise from the cable chafing on your jacket to the headphones, or at least one side of it.
Yeah, cabled headphones are, in my opinion, used for like sitting still.
Yeah, couch listening.
Yeah. Or like your, I don't know, Eames chair in a silent room where no kids, no friends come in.
That's it. So, yeah, I'm honestly considering moving off the Tidal because I don't have the time to listen to the 90s, and nor do I want to start shit with neighbors to listen to the 90s the way I used to listen to the 90s. I think my advantage was that I had one neighbor that she was a nurse or something. She was barely home.
Yeah.
And the other neighbor on my other side at the old apartment was an old deaf lady. So, that was my plus. But here I got two old people. I haven't gotten complaints from the bedroom yet because that's also loud too with the 19 pumping.
Yeah, but it's controlled, surely.
Yeah, a little bit.
So yeah, it's weird. Like I still don't think I think still BeoLab should be semi-dumb. Like I don't like that all this source stuff is built in because it's not needed.
What?
Like the whole Mozart touchscreen interface, right? Like it's exquisite on 50s and 90s. Like they're smart enough to be dumb enough to always work, essentially.
I think they would have been better off if they perfected the BeoConnect core to the point where that DPL actually works properly, and have that added with the speakers that, yes, put the Mozart in it so it can do all the DPL, but take the touch interface off. Maybe just keep the volume control on it. And that's about it. But I don't, it's too much. No, she moved in deaf already, brother. My 90s didn't make her deaf, but I wish that I made the other people deaf in here. What are we looking at? These are like cool because they have somebody's 3M thing on it, or is
no,
it just
the chassis is like granite.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So yesterday, Buddy and I went to the Tampa Audio, or like the Florida International Audio Expo, I think it's called, but it's in Tampa. And now, to me, B&O seems reasonable again in price.
How heavy are those, for the love of God?
I didn't ask, but they are really, really heavy. They're also ridiculously expensive. I haven't written down prices for everything, but there was one point where I'll get to the pictures later, but there was one speaker system that sort of sounded all right. I would say it was like, I don't know, somewhere between 8s and 28s in terms of output, and then quality's up to you. But I think the total price, including amps, was like almost 70 grand.
Wow.
I mean, there was what I was really amazed is that there were a heck of a lot of these sorts of record players where like 20 to 30 grand record players.
Just the machining is impeccable on it though.
Oh yeah. But there were also a shit ton of reel-to-reel players. Like even new ones, not old ones, like newly produced ones.
Like reel-to-reel
Yeah.
tapes?
Yes.
Oh, Liz, why?
I
Is
don't
this how
know.
far back we're going now?
I guess.
Are we gonna get reel-to-reel computers too, like in Star Trek and shit? Like, what are we doing? Why
Yeah.
did we skip the CDs? Why the CDs are not cool anymore? In my opinion, that should be cooler than reel-to-reel.
I mean, yeah. It's the mass on this thing is obviously ridiculous. Like I think this turntable is like 40 kilos or something like that.
Oh, dude, it's probably heavier than that, and it sits on these little stilettos probably at the end of the
Yeah, it has
pipes,
several ones. Like this whole rack is a part of
suspended
it.
more or less.
So
Almost,
there's
yeah.
like these stilettos in here and then here, and like it reminded me of that one of your clients had with like that sits on a bearing with like to combat the gravitational pull of the earth and such
Mm.
nonsense.
Oh, fuck.
I mean, there was all sorts of yeah,
That takes up more room than all of the B&O that I own, more or less.
yeah.
Like in as far as the technology inside these things are just it's so, I don't know, it's just so much space that occupies for how little it does, especially the turntable.
Gopilas, for Dolby Atmos content, do you recommend using direct mode or true image? Henrik says true image. I say, sorry, the other way around. Henrik says direct, and I say true image, but it depends on how you set it up and how you play with the sliders and stuff. Again, it's personal preference.
If you do that, I'm on the true image side more or less now that they fixed it.
Yeah.
But if you're playing with it, you need to have a dB meter, man, and
Yeah.
especially adjust for the height speakers, because those are choked down by the default with the microphone. I don't know why, but they are.
Yeah. It's
Anyways,
I mean, another thing, like everything in these sorts of rooms, right? Like these speakers need to be like meters away from the back wall and then meters in.
Yeah.
To sound their optimum, and then you have power conditioners for the amps and blah blah blah, and
yeah, that's a lot of gear, man.
like here your platter again of a record player like this one is like the platter is like 15 kilos or something. I mean, oh yeah, this is one thing we also found. This, what are these called again? These people, Via Blue or something like that. This is a cat cable termination that is like fully shielded. Like with like,
I think it's more than that. I think it's not. I just don't buy the back end that it screws on. I guess that's what the specialty on it is. I don't see.
no,
being
you feed it
different
through.
than-
That's the strain relief that's built into like where
Yeah.
like where you like make that sort of crumple zone in the cable, right?
Yes, but that's. I don't think they're that far off of Audio Quest cables or Terminator RG45 ones.
Yeah. Anyway, these people
Yeah,
had.
Terminator made cables exactly. Steve, this is.
I think their cheapest 1 meter cable was like I don't know, $150 or something like that.
Sir, we can't hardwire your emerge with this.
It doesn't fit.
Yeah, that's something that even the 90s would have a struggle to hide. No, 90s would be fine. 50s would be fine. Good luck in the 28s and 8s. Forget it completely. Where else would you completely forget that?
Yeah, from back to front, this connector is like an inch long.
You could use them in the 18s maybe, and that's where the story ends, I think.
Yeah, but only in the one closer to the middle, because I think this one is too long for the one further to the right.
No, you can't do the daisy chain. They have to be direct ran for sure. That's silly, man. That's, I don't know what.
But it's
What
like,
does it give you, like 3 dB less of noise on it? Is that what it is?
they said so. It's full on Cat 8 spec. They said it's like if with the proper cable, there is a lot more rejection than even Cat 7. however much that's worth to you, that it's spec chasing. But they said
That's what it is.
you can. They said you can measure it, but
Cool.
yeah,
But with like how many like nanovolt difference on things it is that it makes sense or not.
yeah. I mean, like this whole show was for people that love gear, right? Because like there were like
Yes.
I don't know 2 meter power cables that were like $1,500 each,
Holy fuck.
and they had the most ridiculous like carbon fiber weave along the outside, and like these semi see through like full on plugs that you're like, oh, what the hell is this?
Okay, we have one client that bought set of 50s. I've been there a few times. And you bought a theater first, then the 50s, and then the 18s. So it's a full surround system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he ran, I think their Audio Quest, they're like $400-500 a power cord right into everything except the theater runs on its default cable.
Yeah.
But he ran the power from the breaker room through some filters, and that's a specific circuit into that room that he has. That it's like clean power, set up the speakers, blah blah, which they had the same problems like on
You
any
go volume
network
up,
and anything else.
like
I could not hear the difference, dude. I could not hear the difference between that. And when this question was asked in 2015, when I was in the factory through when the 90s came out, and like, because obviously there were people that just couldn't help themselves but ask, right? Like, what power conditioner do you use with that, and blah blah blah. And the engineers looked at them like they fell off a fucking Christmas tree, right? Like, no, you don't, because everything is built inside. Did you not look at the circuit board that is the power supply? See, it's fucking like an 8.5 or 11 by 17 sheet of paper, for God's sakes. Like, and it's fucking caps on it. Like, come on, dude. You don't need anything to it. It cleans the power as it comes in, and then supplies the power into everything else.
Another thing that like
these look like concert speakers almost.
Yeah, these are horn speakers, and I didn't like these ones at all. These, like, especially the lower ones, were like the classical experience of a woofer, because every time you heard bass, you sort of heard whoo.
Oh, like it was actually
like
woofing.
it made literally the woofing sound, right? Like it was a lot of whoo.
I couldn't live with that.
No. And I mean, they're also so directional. Like, they sounded way different when you sat down versus when you stood in the same position listening to them. They're very, funnily enough, they're left to right, not that much directional, but up and down, very much so. It's another thing that's making an enormous comeback is like the very high-end tube amps. Like, there were so many people that like
had the tubes.
Yeah, but they're all hand built nowadays, it seems. And they're ridiculously expensive. They're also like,
of course,
like 1,000-watt tube amp blocks, right? I mean, 900 watt of that is heat or so.
Of course.
But like it's literally where like a bunch of these. There was a floor where it almost seemed more like semi DIY by experts, right? That sort of thing, where like they had some company bent up a chassis, and then they would literally manually make the PCB boards and like solder on all this stuff with like the right amount of silver in the soldering and that sort of thing.
Oh man.
So yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, that's so not for me. Like, I appreciate, but I think that's an AVM player, isn't it?
I think so.
That looks like something that we sold a few of those before. Those are pretty neat.
I did see that. Was it? I think it's a Korean company, Hi-Fi Rose or something. Their streamer, and that was a really nice one. Actually, it's relatively cheap.
I don't understand why B&O is not involved in the streamer business.
Yeah.
Other than the core, like, okay, cool, you made a box, but like, make something that is actually displayable and has services that, not that they're optional, but more than 3 and 1 you can't really choose with older products. So
in here again, tube amps. But yeah, B&O should absolutely I don't understand why they don't. Like, it seems like everybody wants to buy a streamer anyway.
Well, we sell stuff on like if some people buy. There's a lot of people that bought 20s back in the day, right? And I go to these homes and it's oddly ever a Beosound core, right? That there, it's always on some sort of a receiver, because that has the entire plethora of streaming services that people have that B&O doesn't support. And I don't know if it's the licensing problem or whatever, but maybe instead of blowing money on the Ferrari budget, like blow money on streaming services licenses that people actually can utilize and make a player that supports it all.
I mean, I think that Hi-Fi Rose, the high end one, is like $2,000 or something, and it does essentially everything. So it's like, I don't understand. It can't be that expensive to do.
Even with the BeoTax, if the thing was 5Gs, right? Because the machining of the aluminium and yada yada yada, like they would make it special in one way or the other. I'm certain of it. Maybe something mechanical that comes out. I don't know. Something cool would be cool, or anything. Then BeoConnect core with the boring box. Like I did the job on Friday in Frelichburg when I went back, and I had to swap BeoLab 8. It was I don't know, the Wi-Fi was fucked on it, dude. So I did all that, and then come to think of it, like, yes, you have the kitchen zone now because I put the core with the transmitter on it.
Yeah.
But you don't really have an option to control it other than with your phone.
Yeah, they should make something like a Essence remote again.
Something silly that is, not like, I understand the Halo, but Halo sometimes almost seems a waste in certain scenarios. And it's not even a waste. I think it's very restrictive, because there are scenarios where you could just plop in a freaking Bluetooth Essence remote that, just connects exactly what you need. Play, pause, volume up and down, I'm on the phone, whatever, right? And stop. Where if you do that with Halo now, like, there's rock walls here in Montreal because it's an old city and it's old buildings. How do you run the Halo cable without not making it look like dog shit to run the power? You can't do a wall mount, right? It sucks.
Yeah. Also, you don't need the screen. Also on the Halo, even if you have a playlist or do Deezer, was it the randomized Deezer thing? You on a Halo, well, you can't even like a song, like add it to your collection, right? On the Deezer, it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, the Halo has so much more potential, and I don't know if it's hardware limitation that they can't because the processing is too slow, or is it just lack of resource to develop something.
These were
because they could also, just to touch on that, like they could also take on the, like if they were to make a streamer, they could have made the Halo Halo specific interface with it that would be basically the same as it was with the master control panels, that you have all the control on the streamer. It shows you the metadata and all that with the album art. I think that would be something that's doable. The screen's colored, so why not? These are what, Martin Logan's?
No, these are I forget the name now.
Are those lamps or speakers too?
No, they're bass traps. The behind.
Oh fuck! Of course.
Because obviously these are bi-directional, right? These speakers, they sound exactly the same behind as they do in front, and that's why, like, they sound good, but you have so many reflection issues. But these actually have two subs here on either side, and I
see that.
But they have bigger ones here, and these were in full range. I think they said 28 hertz to 23,000. So these didn't need a sub, but it's kind of interesting that you can see through your speakers.
Not a fan of it.
Yeah,
they look weird. They look they look like server doors.
Yeah, I like the tech, but again, like that you need like these pucks to keep your cables off the floor and stuff like that.
What's the little complimentary TV there? I guess just so you can stream stuff off it.
Yeah, and they have a deal with some YouTuber that films stuff for them. So that was playing. So that was that.
And look, see, they got the cones on the cable because the static of the
Yeah.
carpet, man. You saw that?
Yeah.
Fudge sticks, man. I'm so glad that I am not one of these people. No disrespect to whoever you are that you love this shit, but I'm not at all enthused. What are these vases on top or like lamps?
No, this is a driver.
Okay.
So they radiate 360 degrees perfectly because the
And
driver
they're
works.
backlit, I guess. Okay.
Well, there's just some lamps in front of it, but
Mm.
like the tweeter, the mid range, and this is like the lower mid range is
Get
like
more
this,
water.
and they work essentially on compression,
That's interesting.
and they sound really really good. Though your room must be tuned for it because you obviously radiate everywhere the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I
See, but then again, now you're chasing the dragon, right? With the room specs and like, how do you live now? Because you need these base traps and all this stuff. Which
Yeah.
those round ones would be just something that the cats would destroy. Shit. So I just not for me. Not for me. Hard pass. But
these are their middle of the road ones,
ooh.
and they're like 120 grand. And because their bigger ones have essentially another set of the speakers right on top, but inverted.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like 400 grand, excluding amplification.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mr. Potato Fry says that I'm on the end game with the 90s. You know what? Yes, but the funny thing is that in between my 90s is a beautiful TV instead of these monoblocks and shit that would sit there.
Yeah.
And make heat. And eat dust, bro, because I'm sure there's fans in these things too.
I mean, these have a very interesting sound signature, right? Because they are so omnidirectional. So stereo, like if you move around, right, like stereo sort of does that, but you're never outside of the sweet spot, essentially, because the sweet spot is everywhere in the same plane.
So they're like the party mode, I mean, the Omni mode on the 90s.
Yeah.
It sounds wicked too. It's a pretty cool idea or an experience too. It's a side byproduct basically of what their capabilities are.
Yeah,
I bet you those palm trees and nonsense around is there not for the decorative reasons, but to like eat up the bollocks of reflection.
Yeah,
100%.
Also, most of these rooms, for some reason, like this was in a Sheraton hotel.
Okay.
But it looked like it was last touched like somewhere in the late 90s.
Nice.
So like this was actually one of the nicer rooms because it had like fake plants in it and stuff.
And diffusion plants, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Interesting. So you did this last week, I guess, eh?
No, yesterday.
Oh, yesterday you went. Right on. Fresh off the press. So what's that? Like there's two different pairs of speakers, or that's the woofers that come with these speakers? Supreme Acoustics.
Yeah, that's. I think that's. I don't even know if that's. I'm so out of this world that I don't.
They borrowed the backdrop from the Harmony idea, though.
Yeah, these are apparently sound dispersion sticks or something. They were very popular everywhere. Like half of my reason for going here, right, was just looking at how treated any room must be to look sort of normal.
To make this shit sound right.
Yeah. Because like again, the back it's 6 meters or something. Like my house isn't big enough if this needs this sort of spacing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, granted, these though sounded excellent, but I bet you that was partially down to the record player, because it was this Bergman tangential arm one.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, apparently this tangential arm is moved and damped by like air. Like it's not like mechanically moving, but it's like pneumatically moving on air.
So there's a compressor in there too.
Yeah,
or something.
something to that effect.
Oh fuck! When that breaks, oh call this man. Like, oh, I have a leak on my compressor, or airline, so I can't play my turntable
Oh, I bet you
because
this.
that's the line. That the thick one is definitely the air pressure feed.
Yeah. I mean, I bet you this
Hmm.
turntable is, God, 40 grand or something.
Oh, at least, man.
But it sounded fucking amazing. It sounded almost streaming quality, like 24-bit. Like,
But was it the music? Was it the stereo that was hooked it up to, and
yeah, well,
so
the
on
whole
and so
system,
forth?
right? Like, it
Yeah,
sounded absolutely
that
fantastic.
system sounded good,
Yeah.
basically.
To the point where, like, none of the crackles and pops, it sounded like essentially like, yeah, like streaming to headphones wired. It's like, wow.
Hmm.
It's one of the few times I was actually sort of wowed
Impressed.
by anything.
Cool.
I
Not
mean,
my colors, but it looks nice.
yeah, same. The funny thing
Berkman.
was the people there were actually Danish. It's like some Danish company, and like somebody started chatting, and it was like, initially I was like, wait, is that sweet? Oh no, they're speaking Danish to each other. Like the guy showing it off was actually a Dane.
Hmm. How does the arm lift? Is it also mechanized?
I actually don't know. I think it's a manual thing on the back and that you move it.
Okay. That's cool. I wonder how that like then moves the. It has to be a two-way pressure valve, two-way system because it
Mm-hmm.
has to suck it back in. Like it has to suck that air back in to. I wonder if there's another piston inside that they just move on a like a corkscrew, right? So they get the accuracy of movement and transfer the air. Which
It
at that point, I think hydraulics would make more sense to have
yeah.
fluid in there because then it's way more accurate.
It's at some point it made me realize like B&O perfected this like 50 years ago with the 4000.
Hmm. With
Because
the
it was,
suspension that doesn't care for anything that's around it.
yeah, and it just works, right. And then, but again, half of this stuff here is purity battles,
Yes.
like how much can you like isolate your gear from the literal earth we're on and that sort of thing.
I bet you none of these turntables will see a party where they play the entire night like they B&O used to play back in the day.
No.
There's no fucking way. These things are going to play maybe one or two records or one or two or maybe 5, 6 tracks off of different records because it takes half hour probably to change the record anyways to center that little weight on top and make sure your needle moves, fuck to sum up. And then you have to clean your record and the dust off of it, blah, blah, blah. So it's an event. Definitely, it's an event, but I don't think that's those turntables are used to the extent that the B&Os used to be used.
I also think if you stop this turntable, it'll take you somewhere between 30 seconds and a minute before the platter's at the correct speed because it is so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It doesn't it doesn't go like yank and it's at
Yeah.
33 33
No, no,
and a third
no. This
RPM.
this
Like it
rolls
goes
off like a steam train.
slow,
Yeah.
slow. Like you have to wait a little bit. So it's yeah, it's a lot of stuff. These to me look like the old JBL speakers.
That is so ugly.
Yeah, I couldn't live with it either.
Oh, give me shivers. Fucking horns on top, like from the truck or something. Looked like
Yeah.
those Aruga horns from.
For that proper tweeter experience. Honk honk.
Terrible.
It's I mean, yeah. I don't know. Again, tube amps. Tube amps
Who's is the,
everywhere.
is that a bust of a Mozart in there?
Yeah.
That's just probably as close as they ever get to a Mozart platform right there.
So yeah, these things.
What the fuck, Dyson?
No, God, what were they called again? I've
Mid-range magic? No, that's the company name, I guess, right?
Yeah, I forget the name of these speakers. I think I have a picture somewhere.
Oh my God, they look like back when I don't know what the translation of it is in English, but Tsechka. We used to have those sea hooks that you'd make
Yeah.
chains out of. That's what that reminds me of.
They sounded decent, but I wouldn't put them much over eights, or maybe the room in where you're listening at.
Boy, must that be a hard sell. Like, who? What's the WAP factor on this, man? Like, honestly.
But these were, what were these? I think they were asking something like, I
Oh,
think
don't.
47 grand for the pair. And then it was like 15 for the amplification.
Holy shit, balls. I would tolerate 28 in my house with the corks and shit they got going on
Yeah.
versus these look absolutely so far. I think the JBLs, that's like, I've inherited something off my grandpa's house, but what were you on making this purchase decision? Like
Yeah.
this shit, the only place that this makes sense is in like the ship of the Alien movie.
Yes.
Where the like they get off the pause and then these things are there like more or less like just handles.
I mean, again, you have like the 360 radiation issue, and I mean, even in a smaller room like this, right? Like, it needs to be so far off the wall. It's
These are so, oh my God, bro. I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at? I'm still trying to understand them. So is there zooming to these goofy things? Is there like a driver that's completely exposed?
yeah, here, and the tweeters in the middle, and the rest
Oh,
of the chassis is essentially a bass tube.
what is this, like Blue Man Group design? What is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've seen them online before, but it's like,
I am so at a loss for words and not even funny, man. I ain't never seen shit like that. And the dude's trying to like figure out how to make him play.
no, he was changing a record, I think.
Oh,
Time.
that
Because
mattered.
for some reason, right? Like the larger rooms, God, there was like $1 million plus in every room.
Okay, so that white cable, is that the speaker wire that's going into them?
I think
Or
so.
no,
Yeah.
what the fuck? So they only have the suspension bridge built for the power.
No, actually, sorry. That white one is for the lamp down here.
Oh, and then they have the suspension bridge cable
Yeah, and that's
going
for
in.
this thick ass cable. God,
Fuck,
this.
it's as thick as the stand
Yeah, the
pipes.
cable is like an inch thick or so. A lot of these cables are like that, where like they're way thicker than your thumb. They're probably like put 4 thumbs like that, and that's more or less how thick the cable is.
See, but this is never gonna be able to have a neat install because you can't fit this shit in the wall.
I mean, power
Like these
cables.
cables, fuck, off of like a 1950s freaking outlet.
Yeah, but you get cleaner power like this.
Oh my god, bro, that hurts. Like it hurts the eyes. It hurts the eyes. I swear to God.
I mean, they didn't sound bad to be fair, but I don't think they sounded as much as they cost
I don't
either.
know. Somebody in the chat, like, you agree? These are just hurt the eyes because they hurt the eyes, man.
It's
Wow, these are like total freaking sight, like just somewhere in a movie that you would never think. These look like something that would make fucking plasma in a like a Star Trek
like an arc
Enterprise
reactor.
engine room. Yeah, like what is that? It's just turned off. Oh my god, like this is just, yeah, these are confusing setups, Sandeep. I completely agree. This is a mess, bro.
Let's see. Can I?
Steve, you're not supposed to ask those questions. Only the power from the wall is the visible power to human eye. You know that. So that's the cables that you need to have to look nice. That's it. Oh, is there more? Because this really hurts my eyes now.
Yeah, there's. I'm just
There's nothing worse though, right? You can't top this, dude. There's no way you can top this shit. Call this.
It was really dark in here. I think these were called the Odeon speakers. These actually, like, they look ridiculous, but they sounded very good. Like it's almost sort of that avant-garde style, but
Mm-hmm. They got those freaking bamboo sticks in the back too.
yeah, like they were everywhere. It was really strange to see that because like that stuff was everywhere. But yeah, these like horn-loaded semi-monsters. They sounded very good. Again, like one of these record players with like was it a 12 or 14-inch arm and stuff. It's I mean, it sounded good, but
Fuck.
I still couldn't
This
have it.
This is a tough podcast, bro, because I don't know if I should make another coffee, have a beer, or just start drinking bourbon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Because this is absolutely sad. Like this is, I'm on board with Sunday. That's depressing. Like, oh, what is that? Is that like a real speaker, or that's
Yeah.
just like this is what the fuck?
It's like tempered double pane, or not double pane, like laminated glass.
I think I'm gonna have another coffee. Fuck. I'm shaking. This is terrible. What is that?
I mean, to be fair, these looked really cool in real life. It is quite cool to see these because
I guess you can see the mechanical movement of the sound come out.
and
A
it's
nice cable management, nicely engineered, but man,
I bet you it's also like almost like, why would you make this out of glass? Because it's so unforgiving to make this out of glass. But it's precise, and I guess it is a show of craftsmanship.
but they're passive, right?
I think the bass was active, and then the treble and mids were passive.
Okay.
So yeah. I mean, they looked kind of cool. It's more of a showpiece than like ultra hi-fi, in my opinion. But yeah, it's like what Ed says. Like, I have a much greater appreciation for B&O after this day.
Oh man, I'm gonna hug my 90s after we're off air. Oh, this is just it hurts my eyes. I don't know if I have like allergy to this or something. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of awful
Yeah.
at one sitting. Damn. I would go straight to the bar after this.
These were one of the few active speakers there, like fully active. They're called the LUXE-T1 or something. These actually sounded quite good. The bass drivers are like those oval shaped in the side. The like I don't like them in terms of look. They sounded quite decent, but the show was a bit odd because they supposedly they were like, the guy was telling us they were rated for like, or like the spec sheet said they were like 40 hertz to 23 24 or something like that, but in this room they measured to 32, and then he went on to say, but it doesn't matter because bass is just a spec. and it depends on how fast it comes on and stops. And it's like, okay,
Okay.
interesting. And then we listened to some tracks, and they sound decent, but I wouldn't say they sound good. Like, new price for these, I think, is 45 grand. And 50s walk circles around them, even though 50s are now obviously more expensive.
Yeah, but they have zero sex appeal to me as far as that.
Yeah.
Where do you put that? Like, these are, to me, are a basement room speakers, like somewhere that you just, they're in a part of the theater setup where it's dark as fuck and you don't really have to look at it and you just listen.
Yeah, the wood styling
But
is
why
like if they're
exactly?
like wainscoting or something like that. It's like straight
It
out
is wood, right?
yeah, it's like the styling is straight out the 70s or 80s. Like, you could
It
find
looks
this in
like,
like an older David Lynch film or something like that.
to me, they look like they ripped off wood panels from some of those Chevelles or whatever those cars were back in the day that had those. Uh,
Yes.
oh,
So
Lampoon's fucking whatever movie. Okay, what is this?
so this is you could get all
Their
the,
bespoke section.
yeah. I mean, and I think they start at 38, and you can, and then if you want a specific wood, it is 45 grand for the pair, and then you could go more if you wanted more bespoke or something.
To match your aesthetic. Oh my god.
Yeah, like, they're good, but you're better off buying 50s.
Okay, next. Fuck.
So these are the golden ear. Is it T777 or something like that, or
So why are they black?
they're red on the side actually,
Oh,
like a sort of deep dark burgundy. Again, the bass is active and the mid range is passive.
it's the
But
color of the dried blood
yeah,
that
but
you
in
get
terms of
off your
sound,
ears.
in terms of bass output, holy moly, holy shit, these things put out bass.
Because it's Class D amps probably in them, right?
Well, the driver in the side is an odd shape. It's square. Like,
That's a bad idea.
it has like two square drivers on either side, and like it. I think we were at 70 to 80% of their volume, but you could feel your shirt move. Like, I think these are the. It was fairly tight, but if you want a simpler setup for like films and stuff, like, I think these actually put out more bass energy than 50s, which was surprising. I mean, you can probably EQ the 50s to put out something similar, but like these, as shown, like, my God, what an amount of bass, and good bass, not just like it's not like Beolab 2 bass, but it's sort of like if you marry a Beolab 2 with a 19 kind of thing.
Did it have passive radiators still or no?
The mid and high is passive. The bass is active.
No. Passive radiators off the base. Or was it ported or just sealed? The cabinet.
I actually don't know. I think they are sealed, but I'm not sure. I remember these vaguely from what is that YouTube show or called? The one I showed the other time with the enormous TV versus a 55-inch TV. Digital Trends. They reviewed these and they love these. And I can now see where their review came from. Like, they're still not for me, but if you are into this brand,
Mm-hmm.
like, these are impressive, like, properly impressive. I mean, this room looks smaller in the picture than it was in real life. It was a bit a larger room, but they still managed to put like a shit ton of bass energy in the room.
Was it a small room?
No, not really.
Okay.
It wasn't a huge room. I'll show you a bigger room later.
Wow, these look like fucking some sort of like battery cells from the Doom movie.
Yeah, this is almost like what you power a Terminator with, right? It's just
Mm.
larger.
Yeah, some Star Wars, Star Trek battery cells, man. Those are, I believe, they're amps with the pipes in them, or the what are the bulbs?
Yeah. Flux compensator. Jesus Christ. I mean,
and you need two of these flux compensators to make this turntable sound half decent, I guess.
yeah.
What are
But
they running? NAD or some crap?
this is
What's the green bar there? The
T
Matrix?
T
That's the
plus
Matrix
A.
processor? T plus A. DNA to
Dalio
finesse.
or something. God, like I'm so out of it. I don't fully even understand what everything does necessarily. Right?
Did you know that blue light actually adds 3 more dBs on the lower output? You compensate it with the green light, so you have the highs too.
But apparently, you need to isolate your amps from any movement, right?
Well, yeah, you never know. These look like freaking half droids or something. They can walk off on you.
Yeah. Like they're not heavy enough to not be shaken by like you walking by, so they need to be suspended as well.
No, I swear to God, these look like nothing but fuel cells to me.
Yeah.
With a couple explorers on the top. It totally looks like a Beosound Explorer. That's so ugly and it's huge.
Yeah, it is huge. It's
How big are those woofers? At least 10 inches, no?
yeah, I think so. Stenheim or whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, again, they're okay, but like you need all this crap like from the previous picture, right, to drive it
That's right.
properly, and then I just instantly love coming home and like knowing that to have my speaker sound good, I don't have to have it like 2 meters from the back wall and 2 meters from the side wall and have it essentially standing in the middle of the room somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And it's not for the statement of it, it's just for literally to actually so you can listen to them.
Yeah. And that they like sound proper.
Man.
So this room was something else.
I'm sure at some point your phone just died because there's no way you had so many pictures. This is terrible. What is that?
So these are all planar magnetics. So, but they're separated, right? So on the far left is the bass, middle is the mids, and then this tower is the tweeter. These things were 7 foot tall, 8 foot tall, something like that.
Oh, and there's the reel to reel.
Yeah.
What are they playing? Charlie Chaplin soundtrack off of that? Like, what do you have on the reel to reel?
God, I don't know. People are hunting for them these days. But yeah,
the reason why I remember my interface with reel to reel as a kid because I made a wig out of my dad's Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
He was not happy with that, but I saw the Dark Side of the Moon that day. Fuck.
But yeah, like amp.
See, and then you also have to have the signs for your wife. Please do not cross the line.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, it sounded good, but like I think this system was like including amps and speakers, right? It was $1 million or something, and I think you can do exactly the same and do more bass output with 90s. It's
but you can't don't have the reel to reel, man.
Oh no, I'm just talking about the speakers and amps, right? Like that's like roughly $1 million or so.
That's insanity. They're
So,
very architectural. They look like a collection of buildings that you would have as an architect in some sort of a huge concrete room.
yeah, these middle ones look like was it Burj Khalifa or whatever it is, or Burj Al
Hmm.
Arab. Like
Yeah,
this.
the sales building. Yeah, then you got the twin towers, and then on the sides or the straddling all the way, it's like some sort of a bank. I don't know.
KCBR, yes, there were females. None of them look very much pleased. Like they were dragged along most of the time, or they were working there.
What, women?
Yeah, there
No,
were a
I'm sure
few.
there's no. There's with their husbands.
There were a few.
It's their birthday present. I'll put up with you going to the show, honey. But yeah, this is. See, that's a like in our podcast. This is complete atrocity to the eye and your interior design, right? Because we've grown into to like completely different aesthetics of our acoustics and sound, and also how it presents itself in a home.
Yeah.
Where these people stride on having these, Vatican cables and whatever else you even name it. They listen to their system. They don't listen to the music.
I mean, the thing is, right? Like, if you're really a high-end customer, but like the people B&O are chasing, they will have a spare room of this size that you literally do nothing else with other than put this stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and those people live in houses where like $1 million for a system like this is just a rounding error to them.
Yeah, but it's still, I don't know.
Like,
It's
I'm not saying it's great, right? But there are people like that. I mean, I'm happy that everybody's employed. I would never want to buy it. Like, it makes no sense to me. Like, I
But
don't
is it
really.
more of a flex system than actually something that you would listen to and be proud of, or are you just proud of it because of the fact that when you have your buddies come over and drinking $700 shots of bourbon, this is $1 million. Let me listen to it, right?
I would have thought so, but the crowd that was here, I would
Mm-hmm.
actually see quite. Not all of them, not even by a long shot, but I would see. And it's hard to judge how much money some of these people had, right? But like,
Mm-hmm.
looking at the type of people that were here, I would say if they could afford this, 20% or so of the people in the entire audio show are the audio nuts that would literally say, fuck off to
Um,
friends because I'm in my listening room. I do not want to talk to you.
mm,
Like, I would have thought like there were a lot of like, that this is like a sort of like, look at me kind of buy, but it seems like most of the people that were actually interested in this stuff are quite reserved, to the point where like my listening room is my sanctuary and like the wife and my friends don't come in it because they may touch my cable.
but yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. I just don't eat by. I don't live by that credo anymore. I
Yeah,
never really have.
I don't really like the concept of a dedicated listening room because like I would just like I would build it and then never use it, right?
Hmm. It's the dying home theaters, dedicated home theaters in the houses that I see that a lot of people, you go in there, projectors from fucking 15 years ago. It's 1080p. It's not fun.
Uh,
But yeah,
oh,
this isn't fun.
let me see if I can download this picture and put it the right way up.
Ed Wortham is asking, do any of the speakers really, really sound good?
Yes, absolutely.
But is it because of the room treatment, or is it because of the speakers themselves? Like, how much do you need to mess with things, right?
Probably all of the above.
Mm.
And you're also building a dedicated room for it, and you're treating it, and you're gonna live with the treatments. There were absolutely systems that sounded good to amazing, even. It's just Do you want that? I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a brand new reel-to-reel system.
Who makes the tapes for this?
I don't know. I think they're remaking some of them. I mean, they also like this is a brand new take on like record players, which is interesting. Like you have two arms on the same record player, so you can use the different styluses.
Styli, I guess, so
Yeah.
you can play it forwards and backwards in the same time. So cool.
So yeah, this was kind of interesting because this is like these people seem to like CNC machine everything from new for everything, right? Like the whole chassis is CNC machined, like every little part and every little knob is CNC machined. The glass is specially poured and stuff like that, and it's
Super cool.
they went a bit crazy with that. They also where's it? Last picture. Metacos or something like that. They're called. Like they have these modular planar magnetic speaker systems where you can just stack these panels on top of each other for more.
Mm.
I mean, and as you can see, the other stuff they made, and it's all like CNC'd aluminium.
Audio sculptures.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So
They look weird, man. They look.
it does look weird, but it very much stood out as one of the like we're not doing any boxes. We're actually doing our own thing.
Mm. And what's those audio sculptures behind? Those were speakers there as well. Those
Yeah.
like women-looking ones.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
it was interesting. I'm not necessarily saying I love it or anything, but it was definitely interesting.
Well, I think it's also a very sobering sight on, how desensitized we are to the whatever's B&O doing, because we're obviously very narrowed in and focused on it.
Yeah.
And obviously the price increases and all that jazz. But if you compare this to the nonsense of what these people pay for things that takes up 3/4 of their living room, B&O is not that expensive, really,
No.
compared to what you get out of what you buy. Yes, there's more bugs maybe because your cement mixer cables from Vatican are not going to have fucking stereo pairing issues, but I would rather put up with factory resetting the speaker every odd few months or whatever when they decide to improve the software or an app than spending copious amounts of money just so I have something to walk around and wipe dust off of constantly because I spent so much fucking money on it. And then you have to be careful so you don't hit it, blah blah blah. I just no. It's so not for me, man. I don't know what I would do if B&O just went out of business overnight and then we can't get any more. I would just die with what I have and then listen to the sound of air conditioner for the rest of my life in the house.
I mean the ones I could potentially ever buy from this whole thing were these golden ear they're called.
Mm.
And the Odeon, the sort of avant-garde looking ones. But this is what I was saying with that square sort of bass driver. Like it's a four-way speaker technically. I mean, compared to B&O, right, it looks very plain. It's like there's no question about it. But in terms of sound, these were really, really good. And those Odeon ones, like, again, they look kind of... I wouldn't say nice, but you can sort of accept them, and
They're
sound
tolerable.
Yeah, I mean, and these are literally like this whole speaker is like I don't know, 4 maybe 5 inches wide. So it's very much it's like it's deeper than it's wide, right? So it's essentially like, I mean, it's only about yay wide. So it's easy to place. I just mean they look sort of meh to me, but they sounded very good.
They almost remind me of the Bose 701s.
Yeah, kind of.
But yeah, we're laughed at from their side of the boat. I tell you that shit right now, because
Yes.
we're the B&O morons that we buy everything prescribed. Like, we're the Apple people of the Windows side, right? It's that's what it is. It's the this will never be a peace between us ever, as far as the B&O people and people that like their design and sound combined in one, versus people that like to listen to their systems and looking at how much money they had spent on certain pieces of that equipment.
Yeah.
And for that reason, the peace will never be and never comes. Even the ones that, you know, that buy B&O speakers and get another streamer to it and whatever, and the turntable, some things B&O just doesn't make, which is silly. Turntables I don't give a shit about, but the streamer we should definitely address as a B&O. But I like the condensed and very intelligent environment of the B&O. Uh, what would you call it? Not the environment. What's the other word? Ecosystem.
Yeah.
Then
It just works.
it just works. But the nice thing is that you can have something that was done in 1996 and still utilize it with what was done. Well, I guess 2015, but it's 2025 and everything looks very fucking relevant. Theater doesn't look like it's been 2 years standing on the stand.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, man. There's no, like, I understand that there's a design, but it's more design oriented towards the fucking acoustics of some sorts to it than anything else, right? Because that's what they're aimed for. And then the actual finish of the speaker is an afterthought, which we'll veneer it walnut or something, make it look expensive, right? Or we'll spray lacquer and polish it 17 times so it looks like a hood of a Bentley, and it still sounds like half-ass when you put this shitty amp to it or whatever else have you. Where with B&O, it's as bad as your source can ever be, because the speakers will always play true to themselves. And if you use a B&O ecosystem, then you just get the best of both worlds.
Ed asks, when you say a speaker sounds good, what do you mean? On a very base level, that there is a balance between tweeter, mid, and bass. That one doesn't outshine the other. That that there is a fair reference, right? That it doesn't either get shouty or too punchy. Uh, a lot of like in these, none of these environments are ideal to listen, because like you're dealing with people talking and that sort of thing. But in certain speakers I could definitely appreciate the mid and low, but then they had a tweeter that was so harsh that it's like they just go like, oh, it's nice, right? More volume. And it's like, no, this starts to hurt. And it's not volume. It's like, and I personally kind of like the planar magnetic sound. It's just the you can't really implement it properly because of the radiation both ways, right? Also,
Mm-hmm.
planar, like the electrostats don't really give you any bass unless they're enormous. I mean,
Yeah.
the membrane moves like that much, so like it's not surprising that can't really do bass that well. I personally think like the electrostats belong more in like high end headphones,
Mm.
because like fuck
Harry's asking
everybody
what?
else, right? Like I want to hear it.
Yeah. Saying, why do they hate on B&Os when it just fucking works and looks excellent? Well, the answer to that question is essentially is in your question. The problem is that B&O really doesn't consider itself as audiophile. I think the first time that B&O should be considered as an audiophile speaker would be the BeoLab 90s introduction and 50s subsequently.
Fives
That's when they,
too.
I guess, have touched. Fives were on an audiophile level, but the problem with that hate is the fact that it's the audio fanatics that go off of we need to have a class A B amps. Class D's are not accurate enough, and yada blah yada, right? Which at this point of time, I think the class D amps do sound better because of the processing that they can have in them. That they basically sound on the same. I don't
Yeah.
think you can really make a difference. Secondly, all the music is now recorded digitally anyways, so it doesn't matter if you're using the class AB amps. But those people don't buy the system to listen to it out of the box. They take it out of the box and then they go get another box to play into that system. So where with B&O, it's not. If you buy a set of speakers, you buy the current ones are already everything is within built in within themselves. So you don't really need much more. Maybe a Halo remote or a Bio remote one to control the system, and that's it. Where that's where the hate is. They you can't change what you have gotten. The only thing you can swap is the grills and look, but it is what it is. So
Cables, if you really want to, though I doubt the difference is as large as it is with separates. So, like, another thing, right, is like the B&O group asks what speakers do you have, and if you say I have 18s, everybody roughly knows what that sounds like.
mhm.
To actually pretty accurately knows what that sounds like. If you ask an audiophile what speakers do you have no idea what that sounds like because you don't know what cables they have, what amps they're using, what preamps they're using, what sort of streamer, how it's connected.
Yeah, there's no way of saying that. Grants is really Gen Fed amps are cutting edge, and B&O is missing out on implementing or not implementing the tech which will fit into their form factor. I don't think that B&O is interested in that because they have their own ice power amp division, which essentially they have developed
Class D.
the Class D amps. So yes, maybe not everybody's coffee is just as good as the barista from a very specialty shop, but for a generic, in my opinion, I don't think that the amps make any difference within the speaker, nor the drivers do, because all of that is compensated within the DSP.
Yeah.
And that's where we now have that unified level of quality of sound throughout the Mozart platform, more or less, because everything is managed within the speaker 100%. There's nothing left for the outside. And they even scream to the interior of the space to measure themselves back to what they're supposed to be zero at, or roughly there. So I don't think that any of that makes any difference. Even if you ran those GNA FET amps inside those speakers and your DSP is shit, the sound wouldn't be great anyways.
Yeah.
So that's that's my opinion of it, and I think that B&O is very much within the control of itself. And to Mikey's point, we can talk about any speaker from B&O, and people that are enthusiastic about B&O or have been around the brand for quite some time have a very good idea of what it would sound like. So if you say, yeah, I have 6000s as rears, okay, so they're old, but yeah, I can, they don't have much bass, but it'll still hold its candle to the wind. So where with the mixed match systems, like even the guys in the shop, yeah, you hear those new Canton whatever elites. I'm like, fuck, yeah, with what, right? Is it a Yamaha amp or a Marantz, or are we putting the Burmester into it? But so, and they all sound different. So it's not like I sit a person in front of a set of Lab 8s and that's what they sound like in the shop, and they will sound a little better in your house because the shop is more or less designed in a way that it just kind of sucks acoustically in certain areas. But you put it in the house and where it's supposed to go, and you run the compensation, and it sounds equal as or better than what you heard it in the shop. Where if you hear something in the store with a controlled environment because they have a showroom, right? So you go into that audio room where everything is treated and catered to, and then you listen to those speakers and they sound fantastic. And then you bring them home and they're brighter than sun because you have no furniture, you have no bass traps, you have no anything. Your curtains are open because you're in a fucking apartment with nothing but glass. So it's just bright and echoey everywhere. And then you look at it like, what have I done? Well,
Yeah,
you haven't
for
done
audio, the
anything.
worst thing you can have is glass.
Yeah, and that's a lot of that. B&O does make a difference in compensation for it, but you still can't, like you can't make a miracle.
Yeah.
So
One thing I didn't take pictures of is there was actually an SVS booth,
okay.
and they had their SVS Ultra Evolution Pinnacles there, and they actually sounded really, really good.
Hmm.
One thing was funny though, a slight segue. We were talking to some exhibitors there, and like my buddy asked, like, "What's the price?" Right, and you got a price. So I obviously follow up: is that each or for a pair? Because you never know, right? And the guy goes, "No, pair," and anybody that says otherwise should be shot. And I'm just looking here, right? Like, this is 2.5 grand each. Like, why would you buy one? Like, what the fuck is that about?
Hmm.
But
They
these
look
sound,
like CX100s on steroids.
yeah, there's like two, it's actually four 8-inch drivers because there's two more on the back. So they use that BLab 19 principle to like equalize the pressure in the cabinet,
Okay.
which is kind of interesting. They sound very good. I now also very much hear what Andrew Robinson says because this tweeter is on the verge of being very harsh, right? Like, I think you can tone it down, but like it wasn't awful, but it is kind of like, ooh, you notice that.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, there's poo.
I mean, the really funny thing was they had an SVS sub in the room, a 17-inch sub, and that played with them, and that sub actually sounded kind of awful. Like, I don't know what, like, if the room is too small or like they set it up wrong, but you would assume they tune it to the room before you set it up and just go. So I don't know really what to think of that. But like, SVS is known for their subs. And
Hmm.
I was kind of surprised to like, because when that guy turned the sub off, like, it's like, okay, and now just the towers, right? It was like, this is so much better.
Interesting.
I mean, and it's not like these things lack bass. I think they go down to like 25 or 20 hertz or something. But yeah, I mean, I'm surprised at the amount of performance you get for the price. Like, I don't think I'll ever say these are pretty, but they sound really quite good, especially like for a pair with like for 5 grand. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
really quite something.
Cool.
I understand.
Yeah, it's something I would never own. The closest I ever gotten to owning anything from Canton is those two crates that I got from some elite speakers that I can stack all my old B&O into. But yeah, that's the only thing that has Canton label on it.
But yeah, like,
Which, don't get me wrong, it's to each their own, I guess. Some people just don't have the budget to go that way, and some people are just brain damaged that way, that they just don't deviate from that, and then they buy their stacker systems, as I call them, or whatever you want to call it, and it's too much. I don't know. I just find it's too much.
so yeah, like, it was an interesting day for sure. But
Mm.
I like, I sometimes feel like every so often you need a recalibration day, right?
Oh God, that's a freaking recalibration all right now for sure.
Because there was for sure some nice stuff there, and like
Yeah.
coming from it from slightly different angles. Like, there's stuff I liked. I would, in a much lower class, obviously be very interested in those SVSs.
Hmm.
Like, I could potentially even buy those for a LARP, right? And like do them with a with a moment and like be the what is it, the BioAmp 2 or something like
Yeah, run
that.
them off of BOM too.
Yeah, and but the other high end stuff, there's a few things that are nice, but I'm kind of surprised at like everything is so incredibly cumbersome. Like, and you sort of know that going into it, but then you see these rooms, and like half the time I was more looking at the rooms than I was at the actual gear, right? Because these people obviously tried to set it up as perfect as possible.
Yeah, but those rooms are fucking, come on.
Sure, but they're fairly standard sized rooms in the larger rooms, right?
Mm.
So if you just sort of transpose like how this compares to your living room, whichever living room you have, right? And then you go like, okay, so this is their optimal approximation in this room. Would I need to do that with my current B&O thing? No,
Absolutely not.
like not at all. Like I could fit like 20 more people in this room and listen to speakers that will still blow your socks off, except they're just like, I don't know, instead of like being 3 meters or 3 meters away from something, they'll just be, let's say, a meter and a meter to give them like a little less to do. But beyond that, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, I don't. It's
Also,
tough,
like
man.
there will be literally like an Ethernet cable, right, and a power cable, and that's it.
Fits into a quarter-inch loop. Yeah, that, and or you can just have wirelessly connected speakers like the 18s, for God's sakes.
I mean, I almost wish, right, like that I could have taken my 50s there, set up, like just put the core in the bottom of a 50.
Hmm.
And people will absolutely ask you, what is your source? How are you doing this? How is this possible? Because you
Yeah,
just put those in a nice room, right? Like you don't have to treat it too much. Like maybe, I don't know, put like banners up, but not really treatment. And people will go like, how the fuck is this playing? Like, where's all your thousands of
shit.
dollars of secondary equipment, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Do
no,
you
no.
think B&O has a place like that, or a place in shows like that? Do you think that they would be, I don't know, pointed fingers at, laughed at, or appreciated? I think we should run a poll in those questions.
Yes.
Yeah, BioMile, none of those systems are multi-room, for God's sakes. Are you kidding me? Like, maybe you can AirPlay into two different places in your house, but like, you're not gonna have $500,000 in each room, because then how big are your fucking rooms? Because you need, even my living room, which I think it's decent space, it's too small for that setup. It's too small. But 90s aren't small here. Yeah, they look like they're a little large speaker, whatever, but uh, they don't have an issue adjusting themselves to the volume of space that they are in, which any of those wood boxes have no idea.
Bio Milas, all 2 channel systems, they know. Yeah, it was. This is essentially a show. Like all these audio shows are essentially, well, not necessarily 2 channel, but they will be stereo plus sub or stereo plus 2 subs generally. That's the most common thing. Uh,
Hmm.
I think there were some rooms where there was multi-channel, but it was really like, this is an expensive system, but it's mostly because like we have a bunch of like tiny ass drivers, right? So you don't really listen to music on those because that seems to be a huge separation where like uh if you want your Atmos systems, you want the same thing all over, but then you have like your high end bookshelf type speaker, but you have like 16 of them, right? So
Hmm.
you still end up with an enormously high price tag. It's just like if you want to listen to stereo on that, it's going to be shit for the price you paid. Also, because I don't really think you can do proper multi-channel also in hotels. Like you're gonna need to drill walls and or holes and stuff, right? Like you can't just double-sided tape everything.
Or you have this, that the skeleton, like concert scaffolding to build a
Yeah, but
ceiling
it's like
platform, but that's so
hotels rooms.
expensive. Yeah, not plausible.
I mean, B&O has been at like Cedia and like was it the one at Amsterdam and stuff. But those shows are even worse for like showing off any of your audio capabilities.
No, it's too loud.
Yeah, and also they are literally there. They build like this semi house thing, like you just said,
Hmm.
right? But it's so open to the rest of the world, and there's no insulation effectively. That God, you there's always rumbling. Like you just can't get out of it.
Hmm.
Knowledge Seeker says, guys, let me ask you something. BLab 90s sound great in a small room, or is it just as, or it's just as much? Might as well go with 50s. That's personal. Like the room size doesn't really matter to 90s, but at some point, depending on how you live, you may appreciate the extra floor space you have with 50s. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what small means in this context.
Hmm.
Are we talking 3 by 3 or 4 by 4 or 5 by 5? What is small?
Yeah, this is about 4 by 5 meters, 4 by 6 meters room
Yeah.
that I have my 90s in, but then account for the kitchen and all open space, but it's not that much.
Look,
And
both
they
will
sound
have
great.
enough
They
power to
will
blow your ears out.
exactly, and there is, and if you run the room compensation, they will stay within the control. I mean, room wise, like you're not gonna fuck up the speakers, but what I'm trying to say is that they're going to. Well, if you prefer low level listening, you know what, and if you want to save yourself, like if you're considering yourself to get the 90s just for the like low level listening, I would just go with two pairs of 50s and a theater.
Yeah. It's cheaper.
It's cheaper, and you would not leave that room for a while. You would hope for another fucking quarantine, I swear to God, because it's just, yeah, my lockdown was the greatest. Just sat at home and listened to the 90s 24/7. That was great.
Yeah, like Max says, 90s need a fair volume to shine. I don't think
Hmm.
90s really come alive until like 50% volume.
Yeah, they
Like they sound
definitely like.
good, right? Don't get me wrong, but they like once they're on and going. Like
Yeah,
and there is like I
no,
mean
they are insane.
like they don't sound bad, but yeah, it's somewhere around the mid to high 50 dBs where they start going where you're like, ooh, like we're alive now. Beyond that,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
bit lethargic.
I guess it's the same, like your Porsche doesn't put the wing up till above 80 kilometers an hour. So,
Yeah.
if you want to, it's the same with the cool, I guess. But yeah, once you start going, and I find that it's more or less like it is with all the B&O speakers, where that curve is very steep towards the last, let's say, 15 digits, where that's when okay, you're past low level listening at this point. We're fucking around and it's done. We're going to the straight juice. And yeah, like anything over 80 is absolutely insane.
On the volume slider, 50 to 52 is much less volume increase than 60 to 62.
Yes. Yeah, that's doubles almost. It's very much, it curves up. So yeah, I don't go past 60. And even now, like I made another speaker preset because I watch a lot of YouTube when I get home, cook and shit. I don't need the 90s to be turned on for that.
Yeah.
So I made a speaker group just, on its own. And I honestly sometimes forget that the 90s are off. The theater just has enough at that low volume listening because I tuned it for where I stand in the kitchen doing shit. And it sounds great. And obviously, it's not 90s because when you turn them on, like you can immediately feel the bottom end release, and the definition improves by a long shot and a high margin. But for just YouTube and watching the news, and not really news, it's never good news. The 90s don't need to be on for that anymore. But they sound, yeah, you can tell. And if the walls weren't made out of paper here, I think I could enjoy them a little more. But here it's just not possible.
Yeah. Get a freestanding house. I had my
Oh yeah,
450s up to, was it volume 65 yesterday for like 5 minutes. Like, holy shit.
which is insane if you think about it. It's like it's only 5 minutes, but that's like going 300 in a car on a straight
Yeah.
line for a. It takes. It's yeah. 5 minutes is a long time. Like that's a full song.
I mean, I had it for like a minute or two at 70, but we weren't even in the room. We were outside, just doors open, sitting
Fucking
like
poor
next to the
cats.
pool.
Cats are scratching out the walls.
No, they were outside too, so they didn't mind that much. But like, holy shit! Like, I think I had more bass outside than I do with like my A5 at like 60-70% volume, and it sits right here, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
Sunday, I understand it's more or less for the spoken word. I don't really listen to music or anything without the 90s come on, but this is just for like YouTube streams, basically like the podcast. Does it really matter to have us on 50s or just the theater? You know what I mean?
you can hear the difference.
You can hear the difference, that's for sure. But
Wum, wum, wum.
that's so bad on the 90s, man. It's like I've had some stuff go on like that with on the podcast, and it's like, holy shit, what is that? That's the
God, I was watching something the other day, and it's like a podcast talk show type thing, right? And they added these new graphics where like subscribe or
yeah,
super
yeah.
chat, but it was like whoosh, boom, and it was like, and then it dropped down. Like every time, I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And it was so low. Like,
Subscribe. It's funny.
yeah, but it was really one of the, like when it fell down, and it's just like, Jesus, why is like my windows like clattering? Like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, but if you're, you have your little LG screen with maybe a Sonos soundbar, you'll never hear that.
I think that's what happened, right? Like the guy that edits it like uses headphones, and they just don't go that low, so he never heard it. But
No, and then yeah, it's the same. Like I watch a few podcasts that I have to take. Like the reason why I did that is I got off the '90s and just listened to the music more, or not music, the YouTubes on just theater, is because people that have mounted microphones on the same table and they're articulated and they
yeah,
bang their heads on the table, bro, that really transfers through these speakers. You will never hear that, and especially if you have headphones, it's tolerable. But when it's so loud, fuck.
blow your ears out by just flicking the mic like that.
That exactly. It's
You get that
yeah.
nice
That's
pop.
why. That's why I went off of the '90s for just the YouTube streams and such. But yeah, I still, when there's a movie time, there's movie time. But coincidentally, we burned through more movies now in the bedroom. And yesterday was the first night that I fucking put the lap floors as the rears. And for the fun of it, I did run the compensation mic on the Avant. So comparatively, compare the technology from 2012 to, I guess, what the 90s are, and why they definitely were on the right path of disabling it for the Eclipse. It wasn't ready. It was half baked. It still did the distances very accurately to the microphone, I have to say, because I confirmed those. It was perfect. But the dBs, man, everything was brought down by 4 dBs.
Hmm.
So still sounded not bad.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, interesting days. It puts you back a bit into perspective. I actually showed my buddy yesterday what like he has 90s, right? He just like has like also building house, so like setup is not proper, and I showed him what like a proper true HD soundtrack sounded like, and then just like, this is how it is with theater in 17s, or just on 17s, or just on front 50s, or just etc. And I mean, he was saying like that he was still indoctrinated by like it, by the old fashioned way of multi-room surround. Like if there is a spot, there must be a speaker. And I was like, okay, listen to this. Tell me what you think of it, right? And it's like, wow, that sounds really good. It's like, yeah, that was just 50s, right? There's no center, no height, no nothing. Like, why must you have like wide surrounds? Because that was the thing for him. Like it just, if you set it up properly, so much stuff doesn't matter.
No.
I mean, Also, 50s and 90s image out so wide, I don't really think it matters all that much.
No, the 90s are scary in the narrow mode.
Yeah.
When you're sitting in the spot, like they are scary. How real and how far or how immediately that speaker disappears. Like they just don't exist. So, all right,
Yeah.
on cigar. The small sides are silver. Yeah, are you talking about the anodized edges of the aluminium? That's always going to be silver. They're not going to do that black. I don't think.
But the question is, do you know if you order a theater and piano black, if they'll do it the same?
Theater and piano black is completely black.
But since it's a bespoke order, you can probably just request that.
I think you're going to request it because they can anodize it after they machine all of it and then just anodize it once and it's all black.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a question of specification. Like, they can pretty much do whatever you want. That's the whole reason for that program to be there.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to see how much bespoke orders are we going to get and what colors are they going to end up with.
Harry asked what happened to the guy in England who was doing a massive B&O project in his house. Kieran, I think he's mostly finished, I think. I haven't spoken to him in a while.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to him, I guess, since. Nah, we spoke a little bit because he was after all those Masterlink junction boxes and such.
God, yeah, his wiring job is mental.
Yeah, I know. That house is it's a big house. It's a big B&O house.
I mean, it's a nice house, but it's a mental wiring system.
Well, he automated the piss out of everything, right?
Yeah.
So that was, and for that, you need cables into everything. And then depends how you can integrate it.
I think I'm still on my same sort of trajectory. Like, I don't mind automation. I would just like minimize it for my own use. Cause like, if there is an update, if LG updates, if you, I don't know, go to full, is it Command 4, whatever the fuck it is, it's called?
Control 4. Oh, yeah. That's a mistake.
Yeah.
No, man, you stick with the BeoLiving intelligence. That's what you stick with, because
apparently the Control 4, the newest thing they have, right?
Doesn't work with the old.
Yeah, but also their new remotes, the fancy remotes with the screen on them, they lose the volume control every so often.
Ooh.
And it's a known flaw that's been there for like 2 years.
Fuck. Yeah, no, I
mean, they have apparently like a basic control, right, without a touchscreen on it, and that volume always works. It's just their fancy remote fucks up. And it's like, oh, this sounds like such a headache. Like, oh.
I remember Crestron. That was something that we did as a B&O shop. That was before my time. And then C4 was always around because K&W in Calgary was doing that. But every one of my clients that I did any sort of high level of automation per se, or when they started talking lighting systems and such, you go with Lutron. You go shades, you go with Lutron. Don't go with Hunter Douglas or some nonsensical brands that you will not be able to automate, but you saved, let's say $2-3 on or $10 on a quote. It's not worth it, and they're all battery powered. No, fuck, we need to wire for all of it. And dude, all the houses that I have automation in, the only thing that ever went down is the IP changed. So you just change it back and the house is back on. So it's definitely 6 of one, half dozen the other, one would say. But no, like with B&O, man, I've had my like Lutron, let's say. I've had Lutron for now 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
With the with the Masterlink gateway. So we're going way back. And it still works, man. the only thing I changed is, or what's changed, that I left all the Lutron keypads at my mom's place. I basically did the entire house with Lutron, and I put the BeoLiving or the BeoLink gateway in there because it's still Masterlink system in there, and it works. It fucking works. There's no problem. She's got the Philips Hue lights that go in with all the stuff, and never an issue. Never. Oh yeah, by the way, we introduced the new switches or dimmers, and you need to now toss your entire fucking house in the garbage and start over. So that where's my 30 grand? What? It's not that's not how this works. So
Yeah, I'm to the point where like I'd almost rather spend good money on classical dimmers, right? And if you want,
you can't go wrong with Lutron. You cannot
yeah,
go wrong with Lutron because more or less everybody that is there is trying to, or it's based on some of the Lutron patents because they're the ones that basically are that they developed all of it, right? And Lutron, like the RA3, there's drivers on it now for BLI, so it works. And if you have old dimmers, they work with the BLI, like RA2 works with RA3. So the cross backwards compatibilities there, you can't go wrong with that. And yeah, now with the today's day of Internet of Things and everything's on your network and controlled in one way or the other, uh, fuck it, man. Like here, I do it because I don't have an option. Well, I do have an option. I just don't really want to take on the process of doing it and switching everything to keypads in Lutron. Plus, I would have to change the plates because they don't match, and that's my OCD, and I'd go fucking nuts. So for that reason, I'm just with the clicker switches, and everything in here that can be done is done with Philips Hue.
yeah. Knowledge seeker, I have no clue what you're asking about low bass directivity with a B&O TV. I would only assume that you meant that for like sub levels of bass in a movie for redirecting it. But if you have a core that will have a song played with that, it will go to the 90s regardless. So like I don't fully understand what you're asking because I think what you heard Jeff say is not in context with.
Well, first of all, bass is omnidirectional, so I don't understand that either. But if you're talking about more precisely tuning the bass response and or the bass performance of the speaker, 90s and 50s, you can do that in under the advanced settings in the filters. What the heck is it called? Parametric equalizer.
Yeah, but he's asking about directivity, and do you mean that it like the bass is aimed left or right? Because I mean it can do that by making a listening position, but that's down into the speaker. But I think Jeff meant that more probably in a multi-channel setup where certain speakers can't do certain types of bass and how it gets redirected to the
Yes.
90s. And that's what you need a B&O TV for. But if you're listening to two-channel anything, it's
90s
going to
are
go
good
to
on
the
their own.
speakers, and like 50s and or 90s will happily play it.
Well, you can't really use 90s without a B&O TV because of the timing delays that are unfixable because there's
Yeah,
processing.
but you can use the Buchanan core, no problem.
Well, yeah, I guess now you can do it with the core, yeah, with the ARC. But before that, there was no possibility. 90s were connected either on their own or they would just go to the TV. So if you buy 90s, I won't get low bass directivity unless the theater under. I think you're completely misunderstanding that.
Yeah.
So when you just have a set of speakers like the 90s here, and I have a preset or tune, I tune them with their own microphone for SPDIF. When I listen to the 9000, they completely bypass the fucking theater's not even on. All right. All of that processing is done within the master speaker or primary speakers. So it does whatever it needs to do and redirect the bass from whatever driver it needs to play in or out of phase or whatever frequency that it needs to cancel or push into the preset tuned position. So in the actual right here on the Eames chair is where everything is being directed. It doesn't matter, like you move a little bit or you turn the chair, you lose that. But this is where everything is tuned, and that's what these speakers do. They do it differently when they're connected to the TV, because obviously you have more speakers with it. But this is how they do it on their own. When you're talking bass redirection levels, that is the bass capacity of each speaker's measurements that are set in the theater. It redirects the bass level based on how capable those speakers are. Which in the older one, Beosystem 4 platform, whatever was the most capable speaker, that's the bass that it would send it to. It would send it all the bass to it. Where this now, I have 90s, but I have 18s. I put the redirection to the 18s at 0. It doesn't matter. The theater knows that they're at 0, but it's not going to shoot all the bass. But I just want to have more potential out of them than what theater allows for them to do. That's it. So that's
I mean, even within the master or the primary 90, you can set which speaker does more bass. So I don't understand what you mean by directivity in this case, because like I'm pretty sure Jeff talked about redirection, not directivity.
Yeah. You're mixed up somewhere.
Yeah, like.
So yeah, that's the bass redirection is basically the intelligent bass crossover network that is managed by the theater or Mozart platform to redirect the bass based on the capabilities of individual speaker and its role.
Yeah, but that's only applicable to multi-channel channel audio sources,
yes.
like more than two speakers.
More than two speakers, yes.
So if you have 90s with a BeoConnect core, that's not
the system. It's set to direct. There is nothing happens. It just plays pass through, and that's it.
So if you want to play 5 hertz through your BeoConnect core, it'll happily play 5 hertz. Like everything will fucking shake, but
you won't really hear it, but you'll feel it more than anything.
Well,
I was playing around with it, but yeah,
move that slider to 70 or 80. You'll feel it.
You'll feel it, and so will your neighbors. But yeah, that's the difference, right? When it comes to the bass redirection level, but the directivity, that's specific to the more or less 90s and 50s, where the bass drivers point 3 different directions, so they do play in and out of phase. And I made an Instagram video on my profile a long time ago where you can actually see them go fucked up. Like, it just makes no sense how they play, but when you sit, where the narrow position has been tuned, they sound absolutely impeccable.
Let's see if I can find that real quick before we head out of here.
God, we're in overtime. Go Canada. Oh God. So hopefully, does that make sense, knowledge seeker? It does, I guess. So yeah, that's the difference, where the directivity of the bass is really only applicable to those 2 top of the line speakers, because 28s don't have the capability because they're only downward firing woofer, so they just shoot down like the 5s do. The difference between the 5s and the 28s per se, 5s was the first compensation system that was ever introduced in the speaker, and these would measure from 20 to 300 hertz, I believe, if I remember correctly, in 7 different sweeps, and they would only adjust the bass response of each speaker based on the location in its location in the room. They would attenuate the bass response of each speaker up to 300 hertz. Oh yeah, there you go. You see, this is what I'm talking about. This is bass redirection, or directivity of the speaker on its own, where they both work little different.
Yeah, they're also counter firing to combat standing waves and stuff like that.
That's right. And the one on the right hand side is the one that points into the corner, actually. And the left hand side is the one that points basically towards the Avant. No, it was a BeoVision 14 at the time. And the main woofer is behind the camera.
You must have been playing at a serious volume to get the mix.
That was about 65.
Because like when I go like, ooh, this is loud, I've taken the panels off my 50s, right? And you see like
move.
Like, yeah, it doesn't. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
It's just this. It's like having an ant cough. No. These are these. Yeah, I had to put them up quite high just to demonstrate this. Do the 28 woofers actually move much air, or are they completely sealed, only vibrate? No. They move air. Like if you actually put your hand on the bottom of that the grill, you will feel the air come out of them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, this was the day. This was a striptease day in my house. I took all the sails off and I cleaned all the dust from the drivers on the speakers. So that's when I did that video.
I
But yeah,
sometimes think, right, like if you are going bespoke, I would almost say, can I get them naked like this? But you find a way to cover all these holes up, right? Like make it almost this sort of smooth as is, but like make all these, like
the
make a way,
mechanics.
yeah, make a way for this like logo to fit a bit more in with with the normal aluminium, but then like cover up all the screw holes in a way that's not obvious that you're just covering them up. Because they look
Yeah,
really cool naked like this as well.
they do. They do. You have to have really loud to even see a little bit of the mid-range move.
Oh yeah.
Tweeters you don't see, but the woofies are woofing hard at that time, at that point. But yeah, they're pretty slick, man. And like I have a couple of thermal images that I took with my camera back then when I had it. How the thermal management works in those, and it is pretty cool how these speakers make sure that none of the that wavering air comes in front of the tweeters in the mid-range, because that offsets it by half a dB or whatever Jeff ended up measuring it at, and that's not tolerable.
Yeah, it's still let's see, where is a picture head on that lip somehow had an effect on the mid ranges, right?
Yeah, I don't think I have the front. It's probably going to be further down when I was tuning them. Yeah, this is too far gone now. But it should be. You could more or less see it on that image, but further down, where is it's my Lego candy. Somebody actually thought it was chocolates. Go down further, and further down, and there's going to be where the place where I'm actually
Oh yeah.
measuring with the laser level. Keep going further.
Yeah,
Yeah, there we
I
go.
got it.
That's it.
That like these mid-range drivers still were affected by this lip by like half a dB, and then they adjusted this lip until it
They
didn't.
3D printed a thing after the molds were already done to be ready for production. They 3D printed that little lip that covers that little extra divot
Yeah.
that was in there, and it fixed it. And that was a sad day for the mold makers, because
But
they
it's
had to do it all over
yeah,
again.
fucking crazy, crazy, crazy
But yeah,
guys.
that's if you actually line them up on axes perfectly and you take the time to do it, they sound just tits, man. It's so good. It's so good. Anyways,
Anyway,
it's the only speaker that will get into your head after a few good songs in a demo. And you walk out of there
a lot
like
less
a very
rich.
beautiful woman kissed you somewhere. You know what I mean?
Both are
Anyways,
expensive.
that's fine.
Anyway, thank you all for watching. Leave a like and subscribe. Hope you all have a good week. And actually, I won't be here next week, so see you in 2 weeks.
All right.
So,
Bye.
bye.